Good morning and welcome everybody to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. Today, we have a ton of topics. We have two new miner releases, one from G Miner and one from BZ Miner. On top of that, we have some Chinese XFX smuggling of GPUs going on. We have new numbers for the AMD Threadripper Pro 5995WX. Unfortunately, we aren't going to see a consumer line of Threadripper, but these are looking pretty cool. We also have some more numbers, specifications on the Bitmain liquid cooling miner, apparently the most efficient miner yet for Bitcoin mining. We also have the Bitcoin hash rate jumping 15%. I'm sure that's just a coincidence, right? We also have the UK shutting down crypto ATMs and discussing banning, of course, cryptocurrency mining, which is supposed to be happening sometime today. One has happened, one will happen, that sort of thing. A lot of attacks on cryptocurrency across the globe. Japan lays out penalties on crypto exchanges for non-compliance with Russia sanctions. Big news there, and I think you guys already know how I'm going to feel about that, right? We're also going to be talking about Coinbase saying it's going to block 25,000 Russian-linked crypto addresses. Censorship here, censorship there, censorship for everyone. This is the way it's going to go down, boys. And the EU, once again, that'll be the last topic. Then we'll get into, of course, mining profitability for the day. Kind of review how we did over the weekend. It looked pretty good, I'm not going to lie. I was pretty happy with it. That being said, I have adjusted some of my mining strategies. We're going to talk about those. And let's get into it right after a word from today's sponsor, which is yours truly. Today's sponsor is myself. To support the channel, click the join button below the video and you will get access to our privately hosted Rocket Chat. Selecting the $1.99 option will get you access, and after that, you need to head over to the membership tab, scroll down, and expand out your membership perks. Find the section for connecting on social media, and in that section there will be a secret registration URL to join Rocket Chat, where you can sign up to enjoy talking with other cryptocurrency enthusiasts and miners without spammers, scammers, or bots. That ended quicker than I expected. Let's hop into it. First things first, G Miner version 2.88. And what do we got going on here? Not a ton. We have basically two fixes, and it's a Linux only release. And the first one is to display memory temperature under Linux for NVIDIA GPUs with GDDR6X memory. Woohoo! This is a big one, boys. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this. I know that you can get it working in HiveOS. There are some tutorials from some other cryptocurrency mining YouTube channels that you should go check out to get that done if you want it showing in HiveOS. However, now also if you just use G Miner, you can pop into that console and take a look at your memory temperatures if you're trying to troubleshoot. Finally, I won't have to explain to anybody anymore that their core temperature is different than their memory temperature, and the reason their hash rate is down is because of their memory temperature. Speaking of which, on the RTX 3070 Asus TUF series, there is a whole separate set of thermal pads that people appear to be missing. So I'm getting like these comments of like, hey, yo, I'm getting low hash rate, I replaced the thermal pads, etc., and it still keeps getting recognized in LOL Miner as a light hash rate GPU. The reason it's being detected as a light hash rate GPU is because it's not hashing it where it's supposed to be hashing at, and that's due to the memory temperatures. And essentially there's an additional metal plate that you need to take off on the Asus TUF models and replace the pads under there. They go out quite frequently. Just a quick note, I'm going to try to do a guide on that card specifically because almost every other 3070 is perfectly fine. It's just that one in particular that's having issues. Also, they support all newest driver versions. Version 2.87 supports only 460.91.03. Once again, it's a Linux release. There's no changes in Windows. So let's go ahead and get into the release for BZ Miner version 8.0.2. Now, this one's a big one, and a lot of the reason this is a big one is it's going to bring to light, unfortunately, something that I don't know that I was ready to talk about. I don't know that I was ready to talk about it yet, but I guess we're just going to have to talk about it. We've kind of briefly mentioned it at the end of videos. We've kind of chit-chat about it. Those that are in Rocket Chat, so on, are aware. But what we got here is some hot fixes for Caspa. It fixes the Caspa pool extra nonce issue and fixes the mun map chunk for the invalid pointer error. So what's in this release? And this was the version 8.0.1. So it's kind of all been added into version 8, right? So you had the Caspa's pool support. There is a Caspa pool now. Caspa, for those that are not aware, is the coin that I have been spec mining for the past week or so. And essentially now there is a pool. So this means more hash is going to come onto the network. I don't know how much longer solo mining will be viable, that sort of thing. But this is kind of where we're at, right? So there is a pool now, an official pool that's launched. If you guys are interested in checking it out, and you can use BZ Miner, meaning that all the complicated setup parts of speculative mining are not a part of Caspa. Does that mean it's too late to spec mine? Well, not necessarily, because of course it's not listed on an exchange yet, but this is the natural progression of when spec mining becomes not spec mining. So we have pools now, we have official miner support outside of the community developed miner, and basically it's going to start rolling here. So if you guys are interested, you can definitely check out Caspa. It's one I'm interested in. It's not financial advice. It's worth $0 because it's not listed on any exchanges. Just a heads up. So they have a slight improvement to NVIDIA 30 series hash rate. They add a 2% Caspa dev team fee. Whoo. Added support for Ubuntu 16.04. Parallel dual mining by default. Added multi-mine type option to command line. Fixed the AMD RX 50 series invalid instruction error for Caspa. Fixed hung GPU BZ miner restart option, and fixed Linux CUDA mixed dependency issue. The new coin, like we said, was Caspa. They did lower the Alphium dev fee to 0.5% and a higher Alphium effective hash rate. New dual mining options, parallel, alternating, and DAG only. Alternating mining allows overclock per algo. That's pretty cool. BZ Miner here is really coming out swinging. A new CLI option. You can use the version command to show the BZ Miner version. You can use the average hash rate in milliseconds to see how long hash rate average should be. Default is 30,000 milliseconds. New config options. We have multi-mine MS, an array of timings for alternate mining used to be light hash rate mine MS. Multi-mine type. You have 0 in parallel and alternate. Mine only during DAG generation. You have overclock or OC underscore. Options can now be strings of any of a JSON array to get around HiveOS not being able to parse valid multi-dimensional arrays. And here's some bug fixes. This is impressive. So they fixed an issue with NVRTC and NVML, missing preventing GPUs from mining. Disable edit mode in Windows console. AMD Polaris and Vega metrics now work on Windows. Fixed auto protocol detection. Some pools getting duplicate worker name. Fixed dual mining ET hash taking very long time to generate DAG. OC is reset while DAG is generating. Fix global OC options to take precedence over device override options. Overclocks are not applied to disabled devices. Fix poolside hash rate, including rejected shares. And fix potential crash when pool is not able to be connected. Note, it requires either the latest NVIDIA drivers or use the CUDA TK downloads. BZ Miner requires NVIDIA drivers supporting CUDA 11.5 or greater. BZ Miner CUDA TK requires NVIDIA drivers supporting 11.2 or greater. And they have the specific driver numbers for you guys in case you're looking for them. And remember, you can always run those in HiveOS to basically update or downgrade. NVIDIA drivers are a lot easier to deal with in HiveOS than AMD drivers. One of the things that makes deploying NVIDIA GPUs, in my opinion, a lot easier. There's a lot of things that make deploying NVIDIA GPUs a lot easier. That being said, of course, it is getting easier with the 6000 series from AMD. Some of the older ones, though, definitely the 5000 series, you're talking about needing to flash the GPUs to get the most performance. That being said, do we know that all the performance is on the table for NVIDIA? Probably not. So I kind of prefer the ability to flash my GPUs and stuff. That being said, of course, RX 6000 series, that's gone out the window too. But for beginners, it's always like grab an NVIDIA GPU, because I don't want to say grab a 5700X. They're great, but now I'm on the hook for giving you all my videos and tutorials on how to get it hashing at the highest power. So I don't know. Anyways, just a side note as far as all that goes. And that pretty much wraps it up. BZ Miner, latest release, looking really good. I'm super excited for it. I'm definitely excited to see a pool for Caspa and it up and running, and the ability for more people in the community to discover it. We can do a WTF is Caspa. If you guys are interested, definitely let me know in the comment section below. Right now, some of the shifts on the channel that I'm doing, you guys might have noticed that we did the how to buy a Dogecoin Mars video, along with, of course, the how to self-custody it. A lot of the direction of the channel, the YouTube channel, for those that are listening on Spotify right now, as far as the dedicated content, is going to have some more newbie intro kind of videos thrown in there, so we can start pulling some of the new people that are coming in through Google Trends and so on into cryptocurrency. Because if I go and look at just the channels that are addressing these topics like Dogecoin Mars and Shiba Inu and SafeMoon and Hex and so on, it's either the creators of the projects or somebody that, you know, isn't as well versed in cryptocurrency, doesn't necessarily adhere to fundamentals and so on. So my goal is to start onboarding people into cryptocurrency and doing my part to hopefully point them in the correct direction along with the community. So one of the things I'm asked from the community in general is in the comment section, you know, if it's on one of the videos that's like Dogecoin Mars or something, there's no reason to be super rude to anybody that's trying to figure it out or wanting to purchase it. Let's go ahead and get them into what they want to get into, but then teach them things like self-custody. Mention, hey, have you read the Bitcoin white paper? Do you know where this all started? Do you even understand that you can purchase a fraction of a Bitcoin? Did you know that? Because a lot of people don't know that. I talk to people on the street, in the sauna, all the time that are like, well, I can buy, you know, 1 million Shiba Inu. I can't buy even 1 Bitcoin. And I'm like, hold on, you can buy fractions. So this is something as a community that we need to get on, and we need to start making sure that we educate people. And I know that I talked about this last week a couple times, but I want to make it clear that the goal is to start educating people. We aren't going to use the excuse of, oh, too many people are too dumb to understand it, so therefore we'll just let the federal government regulate it. No, that is not how this is going to go down. We're going to educate people on self-custody, financial autonomy, and how they can take control of their assets. That's what we're going to try to do as a community, and I hope you guys can help participate in that. Let's go ahead and get into China, who is basically not China, but XFX is in a lot of trouble. This was reported on yesterday already, I believe, by Red Fox Crypto. Sorry, I try to hop into all of the community members like live streams as well. Sometimes I'll get everybody mixed up because, for example, I think I watched like 2 or 3 different people yesterday alone, and it's usually in the background while I'm doing something in a console window on the other monitor. Well, Same monitor now that we have the big one, thank goodness. But yes, on a different set or whatever, a different screen or tab or whatnot, right? So this is coming from videocars.net. According to the report from My Drivers, the Chinese customs have seized thousands of illegally imported XFX Radeon graphics cards. XFX is a division of Hong Kong-based Pine Technology Holdings Limited. This company now has its headquarters in California, but also has subdivisions in other regions, such as China. This Asian branch is reportedly now in serious trouble with the Chinese Customs Office after a shipment of graphics cards with mislabeled specifications was discovered, likely to lower the import tax. During their investigation, Chinese authorities have confirmed that 5,840 graphics card specifications did not match the information on the labels. Those cards are worth 20 million RMB, which is around $3.15 million US. As you can see here, I guess we have a customs release, illegally imported graphics cards. Recently, when Mailing Customs and Customs, I can't do it, sorry, conducted a joint inspection of a company's goods declared for import from that company, it was found that 3 of the graphics cards labels were covered by other labels. It was found that the specifications and models displayed on the actual labels that were covered did not match the declared specifications and models. So the batch of the graphics cards was sampled and submitted for inspection in accordance with the law. After identification, the actual specifications and models of 5,840 graphics cards did not match the declaration, and the value of goods exceeded 20 million. Right, so 3.15 million. What GPUs are these? Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I can't even tell because the pictures are so bad. Let's see. Which model is that? We got 2 8-pins, 3-fan cooler design. But they've used that cooler design quite a few times. They don't actually, I can't tell which ones they are. Maybe you guys can tell me. It doesn't say in the article either which GPUs they were or which ones they were mislabeled as. I would assume obviously they could be like something like an example would be the the camera just shut off. The 6900 XT versus something like, you know, actually being labeled as a 6800 XT or so on. I'm going to get the power up on the camera if I can. Got a new haircut and the camera breaks. That's the way it goes. All right, well, I'm not sure what happened here. Can't even get... Seems like the power adapter failed on the camera. All right. So, oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. Now we can move. Whatever. It's fine. We're back. We're back. So, like I said, it could be like a 6900 XT that's labeled as 6800, a 6800 it's labeled as a 6600, something along those lines to essentially decrease the import tax that's going on there. Obviously, it sounds like these were for mining farms. That being said, if they were going into China, it would be a little weird for the mining farms. But as you know, that the Chinese farms essentially are illegal at this point. Illegal. That being said, we are aware that there is still mining going on around here and there, either through VPNs or other forms. And basically, I don't think that the people that were mining were going to give up on that profitability. Who knows? Maybe they're already playing loose and fast with the rules over there. So they're like, just go ahead and relabel them. It's pretty funny overall. I think getting busted is interesting. It means maybe we'll get some more of those XFXs over here though. They're in a lot of trouble though. I would not want to be them right now. Let's talk about the AMD Threadripper Pro 5995WX. It's the new 64-core Zen 3, and it's now the fastest chip ever tested with Passmark benchmark. Awesome. So AMD's recently launched Threadripper Pro 5995WX flagship workstation CPU is shattering various performance benchmarks. One such example is the Passmark CPU benchmark, where the chip has outperformed every other chip by a huge margin. AMD Threadripper Pro 5995WX is the ultimate and fastest CPU ever in Passmark benchmark, all thanks to the power of 64 Zen 3 cores. The AMD Threadripper Pro 5995WX is a beast of a chip. It is based on the 7nm Zen 3 architecture and features a total of 9 chiplets, which include 8 CCDs and a single I/O die. Each of the CCDs is fully configured with 8 Zen 3 cores, each for a total of 64 cores and 128 threads. The CPU is clocked at a 2.7 gigahertz base and 4.5 gigahertz boost frequency. Other specifications include a 256 megabyte L3 cache, holy moly, and 32 megabytes of L2 cache for a total of 288 megabytes of cache, 128 PCIe Gen 4 lanes, and a TDP of 280 watts, which, considering the specifications, I'm going to be honest with you guys, doesn't sound that bad to me. The CPU offers up to 8-channel DDR4 memory support for up to 2 terabyte capacity support and comes in a 280 watt TDP package. They double release that. Here's the whole line. You have the 5995, which is the 64 core. You have the 5975, which is going to be your 32 core, 64 thread. You have the 5965, which is the 24 core, the 5955, which is the 16 core, and the 5945, which is the 12 core. We're looking at a March release. So obviously, it's getting close to release because we are seeing benchmark leaks of it. Downside is I can't afford one to test. I want to set up a GoFundMe. So I'm just kidding. I set up a GoFundMe so we can test this in some mining benchmarks, because the price is going to be close to $5,000 to $6,000 considering all those hefty specifications. Is it worth it? I mean, if you know what they say about big trucks, big chips are better though. Look at this. We're talking about the 108,000. They broke the 100,000 mark in Passmark, which is beating out their own chip, the Epic 7763, by 20,000 points, which is, I mean, really, if you look at it, easily by like 20%. It just smashes everything on the board. And Epic and Threadripper have been doing this for a while. As you can see, there's really no intel on there. Holy smokes, boys. This is exciting. This is really cool. This is the kind of thing that I wish I was still at my old job for, because I would get to play with these. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to afford one, but all right. So it says currently a timed exclusive to Lenovo's P620 workstation and only works on their platforms. This is the downside of it, by the way, that I did want to talk about. Linus Tech Tips already addressed it, so I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware that not only are we not seeing a consumer grade Threadripper, but even the workstation grade Threadrippers will not be sold to the consumer separately. You'll have to actually go in and purchase a workstation from one of their partners, whether that be something like Lenovo or Dell or HP. And that's the only way you're going to be able to get these chips, which is highly disappointing. And of course, they're coming in at incredible price premiums. So I always have been around the market in the form of like whatever's best. I'm like, that's what I'm about. I really like that sort of thing. But there would always be kind of the arguments between AMD and Intel, and everybody would always be kind of like, AMD's this altruistic company that sells good price to performance. But that was just their strategy to get on top, clearly. Because as soon as they're on top, what do they start doing? All the same business practices that Intel has already been doing for the longest time. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like, unless we get, you know, a third CPU manufacturer out here to mix up in the competition, that these two are going to, you know, keep the consumer at the top of their mind ever, unfortunately. So it is what it is. The chip sounds really cool. Obviously, it's the most powerful chip currently available that we've ever seen, but most of us will never see it or be able to touch it. That's just the way it is. Let's go ahead and talk about the fastest miner to date, or at least the most power efficient miner to date, the S19 XP Hydro. So this one we've already talked about previously. It's been on the website for Bitmain, but we do have a report on it from today on CoinDesk, and I wanted to go ahead and cover it. That way it's on the top of everybody's minds. They can kind of, you know, be aware. I don't know if these are in production, but it certainly sounds like it with the increase of the hash rate on Bitcoin. Bitmain says new liquid cooling miner is its most power efficient model to date. The S19 XP Hydro will deliver 255 terahash a second at 20.8 joules per terahash. It's incredible. It's incredible. The world's biggest manufacturer of crypto mining rigs, Bitmain, released a new liquid cooling mining rig, which boasts the best power efficiency among all of the firm's models. The new Antminer S19 XP Hydro boasts 255 terahash a second of computing power at 20.8 joules per terahash of power efficiency, running on 5,304 watts, according to Bitmain's website. They cost just under $20,000 per unit and will ship in the first quarter of 2023, according to the site. Its energy efficiency narrowly beats Bitmain's previous best, the Antminer S19 XP, which brings up to 140 terahash at 21.5 joules per terahash, and that's at $11,620 US. And the competitor, MicroBT's WhatsMiner M30S++, which delivers 112 terahash a second at an energy efficiency of 31 joules per terahash. I would also mention that CoinMiner's not too far off with their latest max version, which actually beats out the What's Miner. That being said, I haven't seen any technically available for purchase right now from them either. So a lot of these I haven't seen like immediate purchase availability for, other than the S19 XP. Even that one, I'm not even sure if, unless you're ordering directly from them, that you can get it. The hydro cooling rigs are designed to be used in Bitmain's own containers. Liquid cooling is a method of using a liquid, such as a coolant, going through the pipes to release heat from the machine. The firm also announced a new container dubbed the AntSpace HK3, which fits 210 mining machines and consumes 1 megawatt of power. In January, Bitmain announced the Antminer S19 Pro Plus Hydro, its first rig to come with liquid cooling, which delivered up to 198 terahash a second at 27.5 joules per terahash. But clearly the XP is going to be much better than that. My question is on both of these, can you, in theory, right, because we have the Pro Plus and then we have the XP, if you pull those out and you go ahead and submerge them yourself and flash them with the Hydro firmware, can you get the same hash rates out of them? I don't know the answers to that. I also don't feel like investing $11,000 to find out, but I do want to dig around and see, you know, if that's something people are actually moving towards. I know obviously there's custom firmware for a lot of these. I talked to some friends or like acquaintances, I suppose, that do a lot of the ASIC mining. They're already overclocking a majority of them with custom firmware. I'm just curious, how close can you get to that 255 terahash a second if you were to submerge them yourself, specifically the XPs? But these are obviously, this is going to be pretty crazy and way ahead of the game compared to what we're really seeing with the BMZ2 from Intel. Now, the BMZ2 is supposed to be much better, obviously, than the BMZ1, but I don't think that it's going to hit, you know, anywhere close to something like this. Maintenance on the liquid cooling ones is going to be interesting. For example, like, I really don't like the tubing they used here. That's worrisome. You're going to have all of these connections. So that, let's talk about like that a little bit. When we're purchasing these mining rigs, the worrisome part about these hydro mining rigs that are kind of an all-in-one unit as opposed to a submerged tank. A submerged tank, you're going to have one pump, you know, basically powering a whole bin of miners, and basically you reduce the amount of failure points. Here, like if we start talking about failure points, instead of a couple fans on an air-cooled one and the power supply, right, not only do you still have all that to worry about, plus the hash boards, now you have every single one of these fittings and every single one of these tubes to worry about as well. And just in this picture, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 additional, basically, points of failure, not even including what's inside the unit as far as connections, the actual liquid as well, and how all that will play out. It's, you know, from a logistics standpoint, it seems like a nightmare to me. I would rather personally just submerge my own in a big vat and have like that whole system contained within itself, so I only have to troubleshoot one pump, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking about. So let's go ahead and talk about, you know, what maybe this means too. We see a new announcement of a miner, and then conveniently we see Bitcoin's hash rate jump 15% higher in 10 days. Coincidence? Maybe. Maybe. But after Bitcoin miners caught a break 10 days ago when the difficulty dropped 1.49% lower, the network's hash rate increased more than 15% since then. Currently, the processing power has been coasting along above the 200 exahash per second zone, but another difficulty increase is expected to occur in less than 4 days. So basically, you should be seeing the same profitability, and then we're going to see a reduction once all this mining hash power that's gone on the network translates into the increase in difficulty. which they're saying is going to be in about 4 days. Bitcoin's hash rate slipped 2 weeks ago on February 27, 2022 to 169 exahash a second after touching an all-time high of 249 exahash a second on February 15th. Following the drop in processing power, Bitcoin miners caught a break when the difficulty decreased for the first time in months. On March 3rd, the difficulty dropped 1.49% lower after 6 consecutive difficulty increases prior. Currently, Bitcoin mining difficulty is 27.55 trillion, and following the last adjustment, processing power has improved. Bitcoin's hash rate increased over 15% since the difficulty change and 29% since the hash rate hit 169 exahash a second 2 weeks ago. Currently, the network's processing power is roughly 218 exahash a second, and over the last 10 days, it's managed to stay above the 200 exahash a second range. Remember, the all-time high was 249 exahash a second. However, the next epoch mining difficulty adjustment is slated to happen in less than 4 days and is expected to rise 1%. If the rise above 1% takes place, the mining difficulty will change from 27.55 trillion to 27.83 trillion. 3-day hash rate distribution statistics show the Foundry US has been the top miner over the last 72 hours. The American mining operation has 42.42 exahash a second dedicated to Bitcoin blockchain, which equates to 21.919% of today's hash rate. That's a big chunk of the Bitcoin hash rate. The second largest miner in terms of hash rate over the last 3 days is F2 Pool with 30.93 exahash a second of processing power, which represents 15.45% of the global hash rate. At the time of writing, there are 11 known mining pools dedicating SHA-256 hash rate towards the BTC chain. There's 1.33 exahash a second, or 0.66% of the global hash rate operated by unknown or stealth miners, while the Bitcoin network is once again coasting along at near record highs. A few other networks have been recorded high as well. I'd like to see this number go up, and we've talked about this before with the braid pool option that may help do this. The other option used to be P2 pool, but a lot of people don't like taking the profitability hit. I'd like to, when we get that option for braid pool and can decentralize the hash rate a little bit more, but in a form that still allows profitability for the big miners. I don't know how we actually get to them though and influence them to do this, but I think it would be better off for everybody as opposed to having one miner control 20% of the network. But Monero is coasting along at near all-time highs at 2.92 gigahash per second, and Ethereum is around 1 petahash a second. Like Bitcoin, both networks are just below the hash rate all-time highs. It's interesting that they mention Monero nearing all-time highs. I expect Ethereum, I expect Bitcoin. I don't expect as much Monero, so seeing that is a little encouraging, but also kind of a red flag. But on the GPU side, what we have seen, of course, that kind of follows suit with that is an increase in hash rate and use and price of Ravencoin, which is a privacy coin as well, GPU mineable. It's interesting to see all of this start to play out. Are we going to see the second rise of privacy coins? Maybe. Let's go ahead and talk about the UK FCA orders operators to shut down crypto ATMs right after I take a sip of coffee. All right. Any crypto ATMs in the UK are operating illegally, the financial watchdog said. The UK's Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, has warned that any crypto ATMs operating in the country are illegal and must be shut down. Operators must be registered with the FCA to offer ATM services and comply with money laundering regulations. As none of the 27 fully registered crypto firms have been approved to offer ATM services, any crypto ATMs in the UK are operating illegally. According to data by Coin ATM Radar, there are 81 Bitcoin ATM tellers in the UK. The FCA made reference to Gettr, a firm providing crypto ATM services, which had its registration application rejected by the financial watchdog. The firm took its case to court in order to continue its services pending its appeal. The case was dismissed as the judge determined there was a lack of evidence as to how Gettr would undertake its business in a broadly compliant fashion. As of March 7th, 106 firms have applied for registration with the FCA to offer crypto services. Of those, 27 are now fully registered, with 56 refused or having withdrawn their application. The remaining 23 form the FCA's temporary registration regime, TRR, which allows them to continue to operate while their applications remain under assessment. The deadline for their application approval is March 31st. So essentially what's happening is a fight over control. This isn't really necessarily a full ban on them. Let's just give you an idea of how this needs to function. What they're worried about is full-on compliance of these companies, of these ATMs. What kind of things are they looking for in these compliances? Well, obviously KYC. They're going to want to know every single transaction and the ID of the person it's attached to, what their bank account number is, what their phone number is, what their email is, so that they can ping them on taxes and the such. This is the nature of the beast. What we're talking about here is, of course, know your customer practices within cryptocurrency. In the past, of course, from the fundamentals of Bitcoin and what people believe in, KYC is frowned upon. Now, we've talked about compromising on KYC because in society we have to get into fiat to basically go ahead and essentially transact with the rest of society. And so we kind of let it go a little bit. And there could be the argument that makes sense to me to an extent, that if you want to participate within a certain society and they have certain regulations, then you abide by those regulations to participate within that society. The other option, of course, is not participating within that society if you don't agree with the things that they are doing. It's a little hard, though, because you get forced into doing it. So how do we fight these things? What do we do about it? You make sure you go and you take a look at, of course, all of the policies surrounding cryptocurrency that your elected officials have, and you vote the ones in that are going in the direction of the fundamentals. Until then, we just kind of keep navigating this space and see how it goes. It seems like to me, in a lot of cases surrounding pretty much cryptocurrency in any country and regulations, that they don't know what they're doing either. So this should be interesting. It'll be a bumpy road. Do I support them blocking this? Obviously not. But I think there are other ways for you to basically function within cryptocurrency without using Bitcoin ATMs. A lot of the times we did have a video where we went and used one at a liquor store here in Texas. And for example, the fees were just insane and the exchange rates were not quite what you could get somewhere else online, or Coinbase, or even crypto.com. So I think to a certain extent, Bitcoin ATMs are a little bit predatory as well. And so it's like, Let's go ahead and talk about Japan lays out penalties on crypto exchanges for non-compliance with Russia sanctions. It's so hard to fight the fight, guys. How are we going to fight the good fight here? Crypto exchanges making unauthorized payments to sanctioned individuals could be fined as much as 1 million yen, $8,500, with executives facing up to 3 years in prison. Japan's government and financial regulator have laid out the penalties crypto exchanges could face if they fail to comply with sanctions imposed on Russia following its invasion of Ukraine. The Financial Services Agency and Ministry of Finance announced the penalties in a joint statement on Monday, according to a report by Forecast. Crypto exchanges making unauthorized payments to sanctioned individuals could be fined as much as 1 million yen, which is $8,500, with executives facing up to 3 years in prison. The financial regulator also requires exchanges to report any suspected instances of such transfers. Man, oh man, there have been concerns that crypto could be used as a means of evading sanctions placed on Russia and some individuals. There is yet to be any clear sign that this is happening. CoinDesk always likes to say that their defense is that there isn't any clear sign that this is actually happening, and I get it, but you can't argue this way. So it's the same argument of like, basically, criminals use cryptocurrency, and then basically somebody arguing with them would be like, well, not all people using cryptocurrency are criminals, or not, I don't see any evidence of that, or whatever it may be. The fact of the matter is that's a completely moot point. We should be arguing for the liberation of the individual and their ability to transact without the interference of governments and so on. And it's end of story there, because the individual rights matter. And that's really where we need to draw the line. If we want to have arguments over essentially the sanctions, then we can do that in the SWIFT space or whatever else. From my perspective, obviously, I don't think that cryptocurrency should adhere to any sanctions, period, because it completely defeats the purpose of cryptocurrency. That being said, this one's a little weird because it's the government imposing it, and it is imposing it on centralized exchanges. So we can go way back in history. We could go all the way back to when I first started the YouTube channel, and I would talk about the dangers of centralized exchanges. Look, man, we said that they were sketchy. We said that centralized exchanges could lead to terrible things. And case in point, this is the type of things that centralized exchanges lead to. Unfortunately, it's a little hard because you have to, once again, participate in those societies that you live in. So we kind of go around this whole circular argument thing. But does that mean that we stop fighting the fight? Does that mean we stop talking about it? Does that mean we stop voting for the fundamentals and voting the people in that we want? No, it doesn't mean that we stop fighting for what we want. It just means that it's a difficult thing to participate in right now and adhere to the fundamentals. It's a difficult thing to do. What you can do, though, in general, is pull everything off of centralized exchanges, at least anything substantial, and only move to centralized exchanges when needed to basically liquidate, and then start utilizing decentralized exchange options that are not part of things like Binance, Coinbase, Crypto.com, or whatever, and make sure that you are supporting those projects, adding liquidity to these decentralized exchanges as well, and making them function well, because, they need that liquidity to essentially function, and make sure that we move that direction. You also have, obviously, just a plethora of different ones. The Komodo platform is a great one as well. There's lots of decentralized options that you can use for trading and that sort of thing. You don't need to be holding NFTs in Coinbase or Crypto.com. You can hold NFTs in self-custody and start telling people these things because it's important. And the only way that you stop this sort of stuff from affecting the crypto industry, the only way you stop this sort of stuff is by basically detaching yourself from exchanges that are centralized and tied to the government and tied to government regulations. Let's talk about The Verge. Coinbase says it's blocking 25,000 Russia-linked crypto addresses. So, case in point, we just continue on down this road. Everything is just, I feel like we're driving towards a cliff and I'm at the end waving everybody down. Stop, you're going to go over the edge, and nobody's listening. Coinbase says it's currently blocking 25,000 cryptocurrency addresses linked to Russia people or entities, defending itself against claims that Russia could evade sanctions with crypto. In a blog post published yesterday, Chief Legal Officer Paul Grewal outlined how the financial exchange is complying with new rules imposed amid the ongoing invasion of Ukraine. That includes using sophisticated blockchain analytics to identify accounts that are indirectly linked to banned users. How can they do this? They can do this because Coinbase is, of course, KYC, know your customer. They have all your information. They'll track it. If you send something there, they're going to report that to the authorities. That's basically it, right? Coinbase indicated that 25,000 blocked accounts were all related to Russian individuals or entities we believe to be engaging in illicit activity. Sounds like you just banned everybody that had an account in Russia, but I don't know how many Russian accounts there are. It didn't specify when precisely they'd been blocked or how many of the restrictions were related to the current sanctions. In one example, for instance, Coinbase cited a 2020 sanction against a specific Russian national with 1,200 potentially linked accounts. Quote, sanctions play a vital role in promoting national security and deterring unlawful aggression, and Coinbase fully supports these efforts by government authorities, end quote, says Gruwal. So, I mean, Coinbase has shown its hand. They support the governments. They are going to side with the government over the people. They don't care about their users. They care about the government more than they care about the users. Obviously, I understand from their perspective, if I'm there and I'm running Coinbase, I'm probably pretty nervous about all of the regulations and getting shut down and stuff as well. So I have empathy for that, but it is even if it's out of fear, right? You need to understand that this is what they're going to do. They have shown their hand. They are succumbing to the fear mongering, and they are going to basically, trade you in. They're going to give you up at the end of the day. And the question has to be, at what point do we say, we're not doing anything wrong, stop messing with us and stand up? Because I get the arguments of we could get into illegal activity, stopping illegal activity, doing all of that. But by and large, people utilizing Coinbase are not participating in any of these activities. And yet they succumb to all of the restrictions and regulations and whatever else, tax ramifications, whatever it may be. And a lot of this stuff isn't because anybody that's utilizing the platform did anything wrong. And so therefore I don't understand the punishments, and they will clearly go through with this sort of basically KYC tracking. They clearly stated up here, tracking, that they are able to identify the accounts through sophisticated blockchain analytics. Oh, while crypto wallets can be anonymous and don't require dealing with traditional banks, he points out that the transactions are traceable, permanent, and public, which can potentially make it easier to crack down on illicit accounts, preventing them from buying or selling cryptocurrency through a service like Bitcoin. Quote, digital assets have properties that naturally deter common approaches to sanctions evasions. Yes and no, I suppose. Like we talked about, maybe there is going to be another rise of privacy coins. U.S. lawmakers have questioned whether cryptocurrency companies are following sanctions against Russia. 4 senators, including Elizabeth Warren, of course, sent a letter last week urging Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, of course, to outline plans for enforcing compliance. Crypto companies have hastened to disagree with the analytics, downplaying the digital currency's value for large-scale illicit transactions. That's the problem. Stop arguing, stop downplaying that they are used for illicit transactions. Stop saying, stop making that argument, because that argument is just a part of the fear-mongering argument. The argument should be, at the very beginning, are you violating the rights of your citizens? That's what the argument should be. We're arguing the wrong point. And when you argue the wrong point, when you argue a straw man fear-mongering argument, you lose, because you're not this is like debate 101, bro. Come on. Binance founder Changpeng Zhao called crypto too small for Russia, citing its extremely low adoption levels. Quote, the Russian government and other sanctioned actors would need virtually unobtainable amounts of digital assets to meaningfully counteract current sanctions, end quote, wrote Growal. The sanctions so far don't require blocking ordinary Russian citizens, despite calls from Ukraine to extend them. Conversely, they've pointed to Ukraine's extensive crypto fundraising operations, which had raised approximately $54 million as of last week. Russia is increasingly isolated from the larger non-crypto financial system. Among other things, Visa and MasterCard now, which I did hear about this last night, suspended operations in the country over the weekend, leaving card holders inside Russia dependent on Russia's national payment card system. What should you take out of that part too, right? Which is essentially, these are corporations, Visa and MasterCard, that are making these decisions, obviously heavily influenced by the sanction requests and so on. But you end up, obviously, they're showing their hand as well. If Visa or MasterCard decides that you're not okay and you shouldn't be allowed to transact, they can just shut you off. And we got to start being super careful. These are like obviously systems that we all use and participate in, but you should start considering protecting yourself. Obviously, physical assets are going to be a big thing as far as that goes, especially if you have any shortages of anything like that and so on. If you are going to do Bitcoin, make sure that it's self-custody and you can literally just memorize your seed phrase and they can't take what's in here. Okay. That's the best that I can say as far as if you want to participate in cryptocurrency and make sure that you actually are able to control your assets. It's clear to me that at this point, the goal here is to put a narrative in place that pushes the public to fear cryptocurrency in a manner that the public gives up their own financial autonomy and says, okay, you take care of it. That's what's happening. Now, I think it's masked by, poor Ukrainians, and I don't mean to demean the situation they're in at all, but that's what it's masked as. Because like now, if I talk about it, people might be like, oh, you're not sensitive to the struggles of those people. And I'm like, that's not my argument. My argument is that it is all masking exactly what's happening, which is the fear-mongering surrounding cryptocurrency to remove the financial autonomy of individuals. That's what's really happening here. And we already seen this with media. EU vote on Bitcoin mining ban could completely destabilize cryptocurrency. So this is one people are talking about. I don't know when the vote is going through. I'm going to refresh the page and see if they got an update here. 4 hours ago. So no update. European Union parliaments will vote on whether to ban Bitcoin mining on Monday amid concerns about its environmental impact. I'll try to update. Obviously, if you're watching this later and the vote's already gone through, check the link in the description. The Independent here, which is where this is coming from, should have an update on how that vote went through. The draft framework would outlaw or could outlaw cryptocurrencies that rely on an energy-intensive process known as proof of work. Let me tell you how not. To be a journalist. You're not supposed to use terms like this without citing the exact information. All right, you're influencing the reader. You need some sources down here, buddy. Whereby computers perform complex mathematical puzzles in order to generate new units of the digital asset. Bitcoin is among several leading cryptocurrencies that use proof of work technology though Ethereum plans to switch to a system known as proof of stake. I think they're going to push Ethereum hardcore. I think the establishment's going to, just in general. The decision of whether to ban proof of work will be made by members of the EU's Economic and Monetary Affairs Committee, who will vote on the proposed markets in crypto assets MICA framework. If adopted, new rules would require Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to phase out proof of work and switch to methods like proof of stake. Huh? Huh? You're going to try to require the cryptocurrencies themselves to move? Hold on. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Just so you know, UK, that's not how this works. You can't, it's not how this works. Okay. So the reason it doesn't work like that, essentially, so everybody understands, especially in the terms of Bitcoin, is Bitcoin has essentially a governance model that is decided on, and governance is the way that changes to the blockchain are determined. Changes to, I guess, the software for those that are the uninitiated of how it functions. And part of that is something called the consensus mechanism. The consensus mechanism can be either proof of work, proof of stake, or a hybrid of such. You can have a 50-50 proof of work, proof of stake coin. Either way, the way that Bitcoin functions is that their governance is determined by the miners. So the people that are actually mining, the coin would have to make the decision to move, of course, Bitcoin over to proof of stake. Why would they not do this? Well, because of the heavy investment into the mining hardware and the infrastructure that they have already spent. They have to recoup these costs, and part of that is the mining. So if you think the people that are trying to actually run the network, that run the governance for the network, are going to be like, okay, no problem, and move to proof of stake, which also has a ton of other issues and does utilize power, by the way, albeit maybe by a little bit less, depending on your arguments. The fact that they're running in these massive data centers, they're sucking power down, controlled by 3 companies, is a little laughable. It's a little laughable of an argument. The amount of e-waste in cloud compute is insane, because you basically have redundancy everywhere, and you have a whole bunch of unutilized components in those. So that's just ridiculous. But if you think that they're just going to be like, okay, and move over, then I don't think you understand how any of this works. All right. Bitcoin advocates have described the proposed proof of work technology ban as peak stupidity. I agree, claiming it amounted to essentially banning mathematics. Now, I want to point something else out here. The way this article is written, which really bugs me, is when they have an opinion that they don't agree with, they quote it. They make it clear that they don't agree with it, or that this is what somebody else is saying. In the case, if they're going to make big claims about it being power intensive without any sort of sources or backup, they need to do the same thing for both sides of the argument. Others warned that the ban could potentially lead to major price volatility for the cryptocurrency, with popular market commentator Crypto Whale claiming it will completely destabilize the Bitcoin network. Maybe if a majority of the Bitcoin network was in the EU, but it's not, so I doubt it. Not crazy amounts, but the volatility has always been the same. I don't think that's going to change. Jeremy Allaire, founder of the crypto payments platform CirclePay, described the vote as extremely high stakes and doubted that any such ban could actually be implemented. That such a proposal made it this far is extraordinarily concerning and unlikely to stand up to practical reality, he tweeted over the weekend. Last week, U.S. President Joe Biden signed an executive order to ensure responsible development of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, prompting a market-wide rally. The order also called for research and development into the design and deployment of a U.S. central bank digital currency, which could ultimately Bitcoin's dominance as the world's, I guess they were supposed to say, take over Bitcoin's dominance as the world's leading digital currency. Jake Chervinsky, a crypto-focused lawyer who serves as the head of policy for the Blockchain Association, warned that any potential ban on Bitcoin mining in Europe would be far more damaging to the crypto industry than President Biden's executive order. So today we're supposed to have a vote EU has voted against the Bitcoin proposal, says Welco. Let me refresh and see if this updated. It's always fun to have it. You try to prepare the notes. You check before, you check after. So they didn't update in the Independent. So I am being told that this was voted on. Crypto mining ban EU. Let's do past day. EU set to vote, decides on proof of work, crypto mining ban as market braces. EU votes on proof of work, Bitcoin mining. No update there. I'm not getting any links to this necessarily, so I don't have any confirmation. I could check Google, I guess, but I hate using Google, but just to be safe. Uh, 3 hours ago, to vote on. I have no confirmation here at all right now at this point that the vote's gone through, but in chat, I'm being told that it was shut down. That being said, there's nothing on Google or Brave Beta or anything along those lines at this time for me to confirm that. So we'll confirm it in tomorrow's show once we have confirmation. So as I said, chat saying right now that they voted against it. So let's go ahead and talk about crypto mining profits for the day. Yes, I hate using Google because it tracks all my stuff and then it gives me ads and I don't like it. We have some strategies to get around that though, on the home network at least. Let's go ahead and talk about mining profitability. Currently I have 15 workers on Ethereum on Crazy Pool at 5.29 gigahash reported, and for the past hour 5.17, for the past 6 hours 5.32 gigahash a second. The profitability has been pretty awesome the past few days. We were having obviously a bunch of sub 200 days. I say a bunch. We had 2 sub 200 days last week. They were really hurting us. We had the 194, the 187. Before that, we had a couple pretty good days. And then what happened? Well, things started looking up. We had on less hash rate because I moved some rigs off of it. We got 0.09 ETH on the 12th of March. Yesterday, we ended up coming home with 0.1 ETH on 5 gigahash. I have not had 0.1 ETH on 5 gigahash in a long time. Clearly, there is obviously the block luck and so on. The good news here, as you can see, is that it's kind of gone 2 days in a row, and it's looking like a third day in a row of good profitability because we still have about half of the day left to mine. So ETH profits are looking really, really good right now. That being said, I am mining Flux with 3 of my rigs, the light hash rate rig and my 2080 Ti's. And on Flux, I am essentially doing about, with those 3 rigs, sort of 3 rigs, not really. Each one of these are 1 card, and then this has like 4 cards in it. It has a 3080 Ti, 3070 Ti, and 2 3060s. So total, we got 7 cards, which is equivalent to 1 rig, essentially, at this point. We have a 24-hour average of 423 solutions a second, and that is resulting in $7.28 USD, not including parallel assets at this point, from what I can tell. So it's not bad. We'll also have like the 80% of the parallel assets getting paid out later. I just wanted to put some 2080 Ti's and light hash rate GPUs on Flux. I want to support the network really. And I had 1063 gigs on there, but I took the 1063 gigs off in my case to go ahead and spec mine Caspa like we talked about earlier. Luck pool. Yes. So also mining Ravencoin on basically 5 different CPUs. This first CPU is a 4770 at 8.88 megahash a second. The second CPU is a 3600 XT as labeled at 17.47 megahash a second. The third CPU is a 5800X at 16.24 megahash a second. The SOT fix here, which I just need to rename, is a Threadripper 1950X. Really impressive performance at 28 megahash a second. And then we have the SOT test at 6.61 megahash a second. And so that is currently netting us only about 1.6 Ravencoin per day. I'm just supporting the project. I am also playing with that algorithm in particular for my own little home project that I've been working on, which is SOTcoin. If you follow me on Twitter, you can follow my development process for that because it's been fun. Let's check mining profitability on what to mine, see what they're saying for the 3090, $3.89 a day after 10 cents a kilowatt power on Ethereum. Then coming in second, we have Bitcash at $2.51 a day after power, which is an interesting one. X25X on the algorithm. Zhash on Gemlink. All of these coming kind of out of nowhere. $2.44 a day after power. Then we have some usual suspects with Conflux at $2.01 a day after power. Cero at $2.01 a day after power. Ethereum Classic at $1.88 after power. We have Ergo, thanks to its low power consumption, $2.04 a day after power, which actually bumps it up, even above Conflux. And that is pretty much how that cookie crumbles. Flux has gone down a lot in profitability at $1.65 a day. And that does translate over into the 2080 Ti, as I've been noticing. Hold on, find it. Calculate that out. Yeah, as you can see, Flux is only $1.42 a day after power on the 2080 Ti, while on Ethereum it would be $1.82 a day after power. So Flux is a little down compared to ETH. Usually you would see the 2080 Ti more profitable. It is what it is. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Let's take a look and see how much this hash rate has gone up. 207 exahash a second on Bitcoin. As we were talking about today, that is definitely up. We should see a corresponding difficulty increase as well. The low for the year was 169 exahash a second, and the high for the year was 249 exahash a second. So we're sitting right in between there. That 1% drop in difficulty is probably going to retrace itself here in the next 4 days. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum, and it's right at 1 petahash a second. Still no huge changes in Ethereum. Let's take a look at Ravencoin and see how that is recovering. It's at 3.6 terahash a second with difficulty continuing to decrease. Unfortunately, it's really struggling at this time, especially with its hash rate. And after the halving has definitely not been treating it as well as one would have expected. Of course, the markets are tough right now, so it is what it is. Let's take a look at Flux. It actually is still sticking right around that 2 mega solutions a second. I think at its peak, it was at like 2.5 mega solutions a second. A lot of what's making it difficult on Flux right now for miners, like home miners, is going to be basically the nice hash rentals that have been going off on the network and spiking the network difficulty. Unfortunately, that means like if you want to support Flux and you want to also be profitable, the best way to do that is to, it appears to me, to just put your rigs on nice hash and just limit it to the Flux network. But do we really want to support these huge rentals from nice hash on a small cap coin? Not necessarily, because that does present, obviously, problems. And here's another thing too. Obviously, I'm on miner pool. I do need to move off of miner pool because it's at 51% of the hash rate. But you should be aware that 51% attacks on Flux would need a lot more hash rate. Essentially, it would need like 100% of the hash rate due to them being kind of a hybrid coin with proof of stake and the noding as well. So it's not as much of a worry. But that being said, I always am a proponent of moving, obviously, the hash rate around. I want to mine on 2 miners, but they don't have a US server. So that's why I'm not there. My next option would be fluxpools.net, but I was getting a much better ping to miner pool. So it's kind of where it's at as far as that goes, right? So other than that, we do have Ergo to take a look at too. And Ergo is at 14.92 terahash a second. I think that's up about 0.5 terahash at this point from when we checked on Friday. And there is a little corresponding increase in difficulty, but not much. Let's take a look at the most profitable mining pools for Ethereum. Last 90 days, mining pool hub in first, crazy pool in second, flex pool in third. For the last 60 days, flex pool in first, crazy pool in second, mining pool hub in third. For the last 30 days, mining pool hub in first, ZET in second, crazy pool in third. For the last 21 days, mining pool hub in first, crazy pool in second, flex pool in third. For the last 14 days, ZET in first, crazy pool in second, mining pool hub in third. For the last 7 days, crazy pool in first, ZET in second, mining pool hub in third. For the last 3 days, crazy pool in first, 2 miners in second, flex pool in third. For the last day, it says 2 miners in first, crazy pool in second, and nano pool in third. Crazy pool, when they're hitting blocks, they're always the most profitable. So it's pretty awesome when they hit blocks, and mining to them the last few days has been fantastic. So let's take a look at ASIC miner profitability. Still the same usual suspects, right? Your Cadena miners at the top of the charts, 115.76 US dollars on the KD6. That's down quite a bit, about $15 a day from what it was at. And then from there, you do still have like your ET hash ASICs. It's really questionable on how long you have to mine with those. However, as we've been seeing, there's a lot of signs that Ethereum will be delayed on proof of stake, from vulnerabilities and attack vectors to all the way to basically the testnet deployment and merge being delayed, which we talked about last week. Lots of problems going on ETH as far as its timeline for moving to proof of stake. But does that mean you should go out and buy an Ethereum ASIC? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. Not financial advice, but personally, I wouldn't, right? Antminer L7's at 53.83 a day on mining rig rentals, which is basically going to account for your merge mine of Doge and Litecoin, or Doge and whatever else that you're going to be doing as far as the merge mine goes. KD2s, the IB links, all the usual suspects here. If we go down to the S19 Pros, we're still right around that $15 a day US. So let's go ahead, see if there's any sales over at btminers.com. You can check out the link in the description for the ASIC miners. We're still right at, it looks like the S19 Pro went back up in price actually. It went back up $400. So unfortunately, the time to buy that was last week. Seems like. It's curious that it's going back up in price. That tells me that demand is going up, right? That's interesting. No other real sales here. We've talked about these bundles, so as far as that goes, we're good. Let's get into questions and answers. It is getting about time for me to head to jiu-jitsu, so let's go ahead and go. Super chats never required, always appreciated, easiest to read, so they get answered first. As far as asking a question, tag at @SonOfATech. That changes the name to orange and makes it easier for me to read. So I will basically go through these. I try to scroll up in the beginning as well and get some from earlier on. Daniel M says, hey, Son of a Tech, have you tried running ETH plus TON on Gminer? No, I've kind of stopped on ETH plus TON mining in general because it was getting too hot. Crypto Mikkel says that XFX specifically was the 6800 XT is what it looked like to him. And then, of course, they could have marked it as a 6700 or something else like that. To reduce the price. All right. ACQ says, Asavatech isn't that reductive. I don't know what that's in relation to anymore at this point. Mark says, Asavatech, hope you have a wonderful weekend. Good morning. It's good to see you, man. I had a good weekend. I tried to find your email. I couldn't find it, so please resend it. 4EMH says, Asavatech, as a EU citizen, I apologize for the BS these people say while having zero knowledge. No worries. It's our job to educate, right? So that's why, as opposed to just being like, oh, you're wrong, I stopped and I said, okay, let's explain why that won't happen, right? Let's explain why Bitcoin won't go proof of stake. So everybody knows. Because frankly, like, some people don't understand governance on the blockchain, right? And a lot of people don't understand how all of that functions. Welco says, Ask Savatech, Flexpool also just increased fees and lowered MEV miner rewards this morning. Is that actually on their Twitter or something? Oh. And the Polygon bridge is down too. And people are still keeping it in the top 5. I'm disappointed in y'all. I want to know why y'all are keeping a pool in the top 5 that is doing all this stuff. Disappointed. Disappointed. I don't have confirmation on the increase or decrease of MEV rewards at this point. I'm showing a 5%. I'm showing a decrease in fees to 0.9% and a decrease in MEV fee to 5% from 10%. That's what I show on this page. I'm showing the opposite of what you're saying. 0.9% on the pool fees, and I'm showing 5% on MEV. This used to be 10% for them. So they decreased it from 10%. They decreased their MEV reward from 10% to 5%. At least that's what the API is pulling right now. So I don't know. I don't have confirmation of that. Tactics says, Ask Savatech, great show as usual. Is Gigabyte 1660 Ti at 400 a good buy? It seems expensive to me. Primarily because you could buy a newer gen card that would probably hold better value with the 6600 and get the same mining performance for like $30 more. Daniel Rings, and that's brand new, right? Off the shelf. Daniel Ring says, Ask Savatech, looks like Litecoin difficulty about to jump 10%. Texas Ace says, Ask Savatech, I use 2 miners from Texas and get 50 millisecond ping to the TLS server port. Interestingly, it's 5 milliseconds faster if I use a VPN. Specifically, I'm talking about, when I was talking about that, Flux mining on 2 miners only has EU servers right now. So where do they show their servers? Yeah, only Europe on Flux right now. DMC3 says, Ask Tech Boss 1, your opinion on mining cooling solution, which is called the B Miner GPU 72. I have 150 GPUs and you're getting ready for the summer. I don't know anything about any of the mining cooling solutions. A lot of them, to be frank, I've reached out to a ton of different mining cooling solutions to ask them to like do videos and like go out there and see what they build and all that. None of them respond, so I trust 0 of them. I take that back. One has responded with 1 email, said they'd get into contact with me, and they never did. So, I don't know. Dean says, I have 20K, buy more GPUs or 2 S19 Pros. It depends on your power situation, right? And what your ROI tolerance is. Your Bitcoin miners are going to take a lot longer to ROI potentially. But also with the GPUs, you have to worry about ETH moving proof of stake. Like it's all kind of up in the air. So what I would put it down to would be what your power situation is. And how easy it is for you to essentially power those miners. It can be a little bit easier to power GPU rigs off of 120 than it is obviously powering ASICs. So if you don't have 240 circuits or something along those lines, the GPUs can be a little bit easier. Leonardo says, Ask Tech, I'm on Binance only for the purpose of flexible savings. Are the DeFi sites that offer this while providing liquidity? Yes, I mean, that's where it started, was with all the DeFi. In fact, PancakeSwap would be a decentralized exchange that utilizes Binance. What is it now? Binance Smart BSC changed to BNB. Is that right? Or was it the other way around? So it used to be like the BNB token, but they renamed it anyways. Henry says, Ask Tech, nice cut, G. Thanks, dude. Witcher Work says, Ask Tech, all the politicians are with this scam. The system we live in is completely controlled. Bitcoin was created to give an illusion of freedom. You say the Bible, the religions is 100% accurate. I don't know that I would agree with that necessarily, but to each their own on the opinion. As far as what I can see in policies, when I read the policies, I vote that way. And I think that we can make change. And a lot of the doomsdayers, whether depending on, and I don't think all Christians are doomsdayers either. But a lot of the doomsdayers just want to make that the excuse so that they don't have to do anything, which I would argue that you are misinterpreting the Bible if you think that essentially, oh, it's going to happen no matter what. Nothing I can do about it. Get to work. Stop making excuses. Stop using your religion or your Bible as an excuse to be lazy and not contribute to society and shift the change. So sick of that argument. Welka says it's bad at flex pool, my dude. Yeah, I wish more people would get off of it. It was announced in their Discord. All right, Alan, thanks. Body Shot says, Ask Tech, 2080 Ti or 3060 Ti on Facebook Marketplace for roughly the same price. You don't change people, you change you. Witcher Works. You change you. You change you, and other people in turn change. That's how it works. All right. Power Trip at Son of a Tech. Which crypto tax website do you suggest in the USA? Personally, I use Bitcoin.tax because it was the only one when I started doing it. So, is it the best? I don't know. Is it what I'm comfortable with? Yes. It's kind of like one of those things. I use it because I'm comfortable with it, so I understand it, right? So Bitcoin.tax is what I use, but I've heard that there are new options that work a lot better, that integrate a lot better. So for example, to get all my sales and stuff off of like crypto.com, there are other tax softwares that apparently will integrate directly with crypto.com, and then you can pull it all there. For me in general, like what I would say is like, that sounds nice. But what I have to do with Bitcoin.tax is export the CSV and then import that into Bitcoin.tax, which then will go through and give me my totals, right? This is your capital gains loss or gain, which I'm at losses, which if you're a miner, you should be at losses, by the way. That's how you play the game. But you take that and then you can put that into your tax software, or you can export a CSV and give that to your CPA and your tax attorneys and so on. So Kirby says, ask Simon Tech, what is the issue with Flexible, their Russia ban? And they also announced an increase in fees and a decrease in MEV rewards. Biz with Bruce says, ask Simon Tech, do you prefer a curved monitor? Yes, I do. Primarily because then I actually even like gaming on it better now that I've gotten used to it. My big complaints with curved monitors initially, like I don't like curved 16:9 monitors. I like curved 21:9, or like I have like the 32:9, because essentially then your peripherals are catching the outsides of the screen while you're gaming. It's really easy to do the head turn depending on like the arc. Make sure you go into a store if you're going to purchase a curved monitor and actually see how it functions with you in different seating distances, because it is very, and I would definitely recommend like measuring your desk and determining like how far or close it's going to be, because the problem with the curved monitor is like, you're not just going to be able to set it anywhere and kind of get a good viewing angle. While like, I'm not saying that the viewing angles are bad, like you can see it, it doesn't have like the glare or the fade away. I'm just saying the way the viewing angle works can be a little funky depending on your desk setup. So I think like curved monitors are great. However, they require more research before you get into it. Panzer says, at Simon Tech, the only danger for us is the sky falls on our heads. Well, yeah. Or somebody shoots off an atom bomb. Who knows? A curve is definitely kind of playing off Kurosaki's corner here. Curved is definitely going to be, depending on the aggressiveness of the curve, depending on the size of the screen, it's going to be a very individualized thing. Like, I would definitely never think that anybody that tells you that there's one set that's perfect and the best is actually even being honest with you at that point, because it should be pretty clear that for curvature, it's really going to be your individual preference. All right, boys. I am going to head to Jiu-Jitsu. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Be the change you want to see. Hit the like, comment, subscribe, notification bell. I'll see you guys next Tuesday.